Let's step into that silent parking garage, where Arthur spots a red laser dot flicking across concrete. A suppressed gunshot follows, barely a muffled thump. He lunges, clamping a rough hand over Evelyn's red lips, dragging her behind a concrete pillar. Don't talk. He breathes, scanning the dark. A bullet shatters glass nearby. Across the deck, a shadow pauses with a parabolic microphone. Evelyn's pulse hammers, her voice trapped. That single warning, born of ordinary courage, saves her life. Because Arthur Miller deeply knew the weight of silence. At 36, he learned it in desert outposts where one wrong word meant a deadly ambush. Now he taught it to his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, inside their cramped apartment above an 8th Street bodega. Every morning at 5:45, he would kiss her sleeping forehead before walking to Sterling Tower, where he pushed mops over marble floors that cost more than his entire yearly salary. His rough hands, once steady on military gear, now gripped basic industrial cleaning supplies. But those exact same hands could still build a radio from scraps or spot a corporate surveillance bug from 50 feet away. Lily was his absolute universe. Her mother vanished when she was 2, leaving nothing but a note about not being ready for motherhood. Arthur rebuilt their life from scratch, teaching his girl to tie her shoes with strict military precision, but also to paint bright sunflowers with absolute wild abandon. Their scratched refrigerator door served as her personal art gallery, covered in waxy crayon drawings of a father and daughter holding hands under colorful rainbow skies. She inherited his dark hair and deep, serious eyes, but when she smiled, which happened often, the entire room just seemed to brighten. Down at Riverside Elementary, her teachers constantly praised her kindness, though they worried about her patched-up backpack and the fact she packed her own lunch every single day. Picture this: 20 floors above Arthur's closet, Evelyn Sterling commanded an empire. At 34, she ruled Sterling Industries with the ruthless corporate efficiency her powerful father William instilled since childhood. Her platinum blonde hair was always pulled back into a severe chignon. Her crimson dresses were tailored to perfection, her sharp heels clicking absolute authority across boardroom floors. Beauty was her shiny armor, fierce intelligence her weapon. Graduating summa cum laude from Harvard, she took over 3 failing companies and turned them into massive profit machines within 18 months. The corporate business press openly called her the Ice Queen, and she wore that frozen title like a crown, but golden crowns are heavy. Every single morning, Evelyn stared at her reflection inside her luxury penthouse mirror, seeing her own mother's eyes looking back. The mother who died when Evelyn was 12, leaving her alone, with a father showing love through company stock options and performance reviews. William Sterling literally built his young daughter into a cold fortress, teaching her that vulnerability meant weakness and trust was a luxury she could not afford. She had lovers, just brief affairs, with executives who only wanted her vast wealth, her body, or her influence, but never her heart. That fragile organ, she learned, was better kept safely locked away. The contrast between corrupt power and ordinary survival couldn't be starker. While I heated leftover spaghetti on a hot plate for Lily's dinner, Evelyn attended $500-a-plate galas. While I read my daughter-worn library books about brave princesses, Evelyn signed corporate contracts worth millions without even blinking. While I stressed about making rent, she battled hostile takeovers. We existed in the same corporate building, but completely different universes, connected only by the elevator cables carrying her past my floor every day. Neither of us really knew the other existed beyond passing glances. To me, she was the executive in red who never looked down. I was just the maintenance guy keeping the power on while the elites slept. The rhythm of our separate lives could have kept going forever. 2 lines never meant to cross, but Sterling Industries hid corporate secrets darker than its tinted windows. And someone had grown tired of just waiting in the shadows. Her quarterly board meeting had stretched past 11 that night. October rain hammered against the top-floor conference room windows. Evelyn gathered her files, waving off her assistant for the night. Her bodyguard, Marcus, waited by the elevator doors, a former Navy SEAL who kept her safe for 3 years straight. They rode down to the parking garage. She was probably planning her next big merger. The garage lights flickered. My crew had reported those electrical issues for weeks. But the brass was always too busy to approve my repair budget. Marcus walked ahead of her, scanning the dark spots between concrete pillars. Evelyn's heels echoed sharply through the vast space. That red dress was the only color in the gray expanse. She reached for her phone just as Marcus stiffened, his hand dropping toward his hidden gun. Just a flicker of movement, barely visible. Then came the sick hiss of a silenced gunshot. Marcus crumpled, grabbing his bleeding shoulder. As he hit the ground, something tumbled from his jacket. A flash drive skittered across the cold concrete, stopping right near a drainage grate. Its label caught the flickering, fluorescent light. Internal Audit Quarter 3. That's when I stepped in, my old instincts taking over completely. I was just down there checking the ventilation system. That routine task saved her life. I dragged Evelyn to safety. My eyes swept the parking garage with cold, methodical precision. 2 more armed shadows shifted over near the exit ramp. I grabbed her wrist, tapping 3 times, military code for stay down. She shook against the concrete wall, her expensive dress soaking up motor oil. But she clearly understood my silent primal warning, obey or die. I crept over to Marcus's prone body, checking his pulse and snatching that flash drive. The guy was breathing but out cold, blood pooling beneath his shoulder. I grabbed a clear plastic bag right off my maintenance cart. I always kept them handy for chemical spills. I sealed the USB inside. My mind raced through survival protocols from a past life. Back when securing sensitive intel meant the difference between surviving or coming home in a box. These shooters were total professionals. They'd wait for us to panic, to make a move. But Arthur, an ordinary dad, learned patience in places where harsh sandstorms lasted for days. He grabbed his phone. He didn't dial 911. Corrupt power always monitored emergency channels. Instead, this brave father activated a program he'd written years ago. It cloned their corrupt data while leaving the original untouched. The corporate conspiracy flooded his screen, spreadsheets, secret emails, and video files. Corrupt names jumped out. Board members, bought officials, hidden offshore accounts. Let's look at this together. One corrupt name repeated, Damian Cross, the powerful chief operations officer. Arthur had seen this villain once. A gaunt elite in a silver suit, whining about water spots on his pristine office window. The man's arrogant power deeply unsettled Arthur. Pale skin stretched tight, slicked-back blonde hair, and cold gray eyes that seemed to ruthlessly catalog the weaknesses of ordinary, hard-working people. The corporate hitmen moved now, smoothly coordinating through their earpieces. Arthur recognized their pattern, deadly military contractors. Ex-special forces turned dirty mercenaries. They chose their positions perfectly, locking down every single exit. But they made one massive mistake. They assumed he'd run. We're about to see Arthur's incredible courage instead. He pulled Evelyn deeper into the mechanical room. Massive pipes and electrical panels gave this brave father a perfect maze of gritty hiding spots. Her breathing was totally frantic. Panicked, he pressed a rough finger to her lips, feeling expensive lipstick smear against his working-class hands. She nodded, realizing that even a tiny whisper would betray them through the echoing concrete acoustics. The next 2 hours became a terrifying, deadly game of cat and mouse. Arthur used his blue-collar knowledge of the building's infrastructure to trigger brilliant distractions, triggering loud car alarms through the electrical system, reversing massive ventilation fans to create grinding noise and confusion. When those bot killers finally retreated from approaching sirens, Arthur knew his righteous fight had just begun. The hidden truth in his pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Whatever corrupt scheme Damian Cross was planning, he'd absolutely kill for it. Dawn broke when this ordinary hero finally got Evelyn to safety, not the compromised police station. Corrupt money buys cops. He chose an old safe house from his honorable military days. She slumped on a metal folding chair, her red dress torn, her elite corporate composure shattered. For the first time in years, Evelyn Sterling truly looked human, vulnerable, and terrified. High above, the corrupt Damian Cross stood at his office window watching the sunrise. His diamond watch caught the morning light. An $18,000 reminder of his ruthless climb from the tough foster homes of his youth. At 40, this man orchestrated hostile takeovers that absolutely destroyed innocent working-class companies. He crushed decent competitors with the cold dispassion of stepping on insects. His glass reflection showed exactly what he'd built, a ruthless predator in a $10,000 suit. His pale features were arranged in an expression of permanent, cold calculation. The call came at 7:15. His elite mercenaries had completely failed. The dark data was missing, and his bodyguard was hospitalized, unable to speak. Damien's fingers tightened on his phone until his knuckle went bone white. 20 full years of corrupt planning. 2 decades spent positioning himself as William Sterling's most trusted, powerful advisor. He'd pulled Arthur's file. Now, as we've seen, an ordinary father's courage threatened his entire corrupt empire. Listen, that flash drive held enough proof to destroy him. More importantly, it exposed the final stage of his sick game. He was forcing William Sterling to hand over the entire company using a sick mix of blackmail and completely fabricated insider trading files. William was vulnerable. Grieving his late wife made him weak, an easy target through his love for his daughter. Damien counted on that exact grief. He actively fed it. He stoked William's fears about rivals, playing the loyal savior who alone could protect Evelyn's massive inheritance. But now I had the evidence, and worse for him, I had Evelyn. Damien unleashed his network of crooked cops and dirty investigators. Tech experts who could trace anybody through their daily digital shadow. He figured I would surface eventually. My employee file showed I had a little girl. 7 years old, my Lily. I could just picture his cold, dead smile right then. We all have weak spots. Their first move was Lily's school. I caught that surveillance van instantly. Wrong tags for our street. The roof antennas screamed covert intelligence gathering. I'd been fetching Lily myself ever since that garage mess. I taught her little games, seeing who could spot the most out-of-place details walking back to our place. She thought it was just fun. She didn't know I was teaching her military counter-surveillance tricks meant for hostile war zones. Their second try was much sharper. Hired guns, dressed as utility workers, approached our apartment building. I watched them from the corner bodega through cameras I'd rigged weeks prior. I moved Lily 3 times in 3 days, crashing with old army buddies who knew better than to ask questions. But we couldn't run forever. Lily needed real stability, school, the right to just be a kid without constantly checking her blind spots. Think about Evelyn. She was finally learning what being hunted meant. Stripped of all her corporate armor and her luxury penthouse. She was suddenly relying entirely on a janitor she wouldn't have even glanced at in the hallway last week. I put her up in a cheap highway motel, paid in straight cash, and booked it under a fake name. She just sat on that scratchy bedspread. Her expensive blonde hair stuffed under a cheap baseball hat I grabbed at a gas station, trying to process how fast her entire world had just collapsed. Those fraud files on the drive were complicated but absolutely devastating. Endless layers of shell companies, illegal bribes masked as simple consulting fees, and a massive corruption web implicating half the board. But the very core held something far worse. Hard proof that Damien was actively, slowly poisoning William Sterling. Tiny doses of heavy metals designed to perfectly fake typical age-related mental decline. Those routine vitamin shots William got from his fancy private doctor. The doctor was Damien's college roommate, literally destroying his mind from within. Evelyn and I met at a greasy diner off Interstate 95 to talk strategy. She looked so different in cheap jeans and a sweater, younger, way more vulnerable. We grabbed a quiet back corner booth, whispering our plans while tired truckers downed coffee and eggs all around us. "We have to go to the FBI," I told her, gripping my black coffee tightly. Evelyn just shook her head. "You don't understand. Damien has connections everywhere. Judges, prosecutors, federal agents. The moment we surface, we're dead." "Then we go to the press," I pushed. "With what proof?" "Damien will spin it as corporate sabotage, a deepfake some rival's attack. He owns 3 media conglomerates through shell companies." I studied her face. Ever see past the wealth to the sharp mind underneath? "You're protecting your father." Her mask finally slipped. "He's all I have left. Yes, he's cold, yes, he pushed me, but he's still my father. And according to these files, he's been slowly murdered for 2 years. Then we save him by exposing the truth. The truth will destroy him too. Even before Damien's corrupt influence, my father wasn't an innocent man. Sterling Industries was built on broken promises and stepped on backs. This investigation will destroy absolutely everything my family built. I leaned back, processing. In my everyday life, things were much simpler. Keep Lily safe, remove threats, survive. But Evelyn lived in a corrupt corporate maze where love and betrayal depended purely on spin, not on actual action. My daughter drew a picture yesterday, I told her suddenly. It was our little family, but she added a third person. A woman with bright blonde hair. She said our family looked too lonely with just two people. Evelyn's eyes shined with tears. I haven't had a real family since I was 12. Then maybe it's finally time to choose. Your father's corrupt empire, or the courage to build something genuine, even if we start from nothing. Our argument exploded then, harsh words flying across that cheap diner table. She accused me of being blind to the complicated realities of corporate survival. Thousands of innocent workers would lose everything if Sterling Industries went completely under. I shot back that she was protecting the corrupt power that built monsters like Damien. Staying silent made her totally complicit. We were both right, both wrong, but you and I know courage is the only way forward. Finally, Evelyn truly broke down. 22 years of ice melted in seconds. She sobbed into her palms while the truckers at the diner politely looked the other way. I slid over to her side of the booth, awkwardly patting her shaking shoulder. I could face down an armed threat, but had zero clue how to comfort a crying woman. She leaned into my chest. And for a brief second we became something else entirely. Two ordinary people finding our courage. A fight neither of us wanted. The choice to run was made when Damien's corporate goons found our motel. I was scanning the lot through a rifle scope, a favor from an old buddy, when their convoy of heavy black trucks finally rolled in. I grabbed Evelyn and the emergency go-bag I'd packed. We bolted out the bathroom window just as flashbangs completely shattered our front door. We sprinted into the dense woods behind the motel. Evelyn's designer shoes tore apart on the rocks until we reached the backup truck I had hidden earlier. My little girl was waiting at safe house number 4, guarded by Elias Flynn. My old unit commander now worked for the FBI's Organized Crime Division. Elias had questions for me, lots of them. But he trusted me to keep my niece safe while I figured out our next move. Picture this with me. My grandfather's mountain cabin, a hunting retreat untouched for 5 years. No electricity, absolutely no running water. Just a wood stove and walls thick enough to survive those brutal Vermont winters. I knew a massive storm was coming. I felt it deep in my bones, just the way Grandpa taught me, reading the pressure changes and shifting winds. It would buy us time, make those mountain roads totally impassable. Give us a real chance to think and plan. I loaded the truck with supplies from a cash-only general store 50 miles from anywhere. Canned goods, batteries, firewood, thick blankets, and children's books for Lily. I even grabbed a stuffed rabbit I spotted, looking just like her old baby toy. Evelyn sat quietly in my passenger seat. She traded her ruined flats for a pair of hiking boots that barely fit. She had never been camping, never split firewood, or hauled fresh water from a well. Her corporate world had been climate-controlled, completely sanitized. Managed by wealthy executives and maintained by ordinary guys like me. The blizzard hit exactly as we reached the cabin. Within hours, 2 feet of snow fell, with more coming. The temperature just plummeted. I taught Lily and Evelyn how to safely feed the old wood stove, how to melt snow for drinking water, and heat soup cans right on the cast iron. Lily adapted instantly, treating it like an adventure. She drew pictures by candlelight, building snow angels during brief breaks in the storm. Then she curled up between Evelyn and me on the narrow couch while I read stories. By the second night, the temperature dropped to -10. That old wood stove struggled to heat the drafty little cabin. I gave my jacket to Lily, my blanket to Evelyn, and sat up tending the fire in just my flannel shirt. Evelyn watched me quietly through her half-closed eyes. Think about it, from stranger to their sole protector in 72 hours. My hands were gentle when I tucked my niece into bed, but she had seen those same hands drop 2 corporate mercenaries in that motel lot. The contradiction fascinated her. "You're freezing." She whispered it once Lily was asleep. "I'm fine, don't be a martyr." She opened her blanket, both an invitation and a challenge. I hesitated, then slid in beside her. We shared body heat while the blizzard raged outside. We didn't speak, we didn't need to. It was deeper than anything she ever found in her penthouse world of empty corporate promises. Look, this was survival, trust, something completely elemental and honest. The very next morning, Lily handed us a crayon drawing. It showed three little figures holding hands outside a house, with snow falling all around. "That's us," she proudly announced, "our family." I started to correct her, explaining Evelyn was just someone we were protecting. But the words died in my throat. Evelyn stared at that drawing with an expression I had never seen before. Wonder mixed with grief for the childhood she never experienced. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Evelyn said, her voice incredibly thick. "Can I keep it?" My daughter Lily beamed. "I'll make another. With a dog, we really should get a dog." That peaceful moment shattered when my encrypted phone suddenly buzzed. Elias had sent me an alert. They found the cabin. Satellite surveillance. "You have maybe 6 hours before the mountain roads are clear. Get out now." It was day 3 trapped inside while my Lily napped. Evelyn discovered a hidden partition deep in that corporate USB drive. Running on limited battery, her laptop revealed corporate conspiracy files that made our blood run cold. Damien wasn't just slowly poisoning her old man. He had orchestrated her mother's tragic car accident 22 years ago. That fatal brake failure sending Margaret Sterling's Mercedes off a cliff? Let's look at the truth. It was murder, designed to break William and make him completely pliable. Evelyn stared at the screen, her whole reality shattering around this dark corporate revelation. Her mother's death had defined absolutely everything. Her father's coldness, her own heavy emotional armor. How she had learned to survive without any real love. All orchestrated by a corrupt executive who actually attended the funeral. Who comforted her dad, worming his way into their vulnerable lives like a total parasite. "I'm going to kill him," she whispered, her voice completely dead and empty. I gently took the laptop from her hands. "No. You are going to completely destroy him with the truth. Death is mercy, prison, total public humiliation. Losing everything, that is justice. My father needs to know. Your dad might be involved." No, but even as she denied it, dark doubt crept in. Did William know? Did he trade his own wife's life for corporate power? The very thought made her physically ill. She snatched my phone before I could stop her, frantically typing a message to her father. "Dad, I'm safe. Damien is trying to kill me, please help. I have evidence of Mom's murder." I lunged for my phone but was too late. The text went through. "You just signed our death warrants." I warned her quietly. He's my father and Damien owns everyone around him. As if proving my point, my perimeter surveillance app suddenly triggered. Vehicles approaching from 3 different directions. Still miles out but closing fast. The storm had finally broken enough for them to navigate those mountain roads. We had minutes, not hours. Picture this. Miles away, William Sterling got his daughter's text, bourbon trembling in his hand. Beside him stood his assistant of 15 years. A corporate mole Damien planted there, reading it right over his shoulder. Within seconds, Damien knew exactly where we were hiding out. The attack hit us at dawn. I moved us into the root cellar's defensive position. They had power, but ordinary courage can protect the truth. 6 mercenaries, military-grade weapons, tactical coordination. I just had a hunting rifle, a pistol, and 2 innocent lives to protect. Picture this. The first wave hit the front, flashbangs and smoke hiding the corporate hitmen. I knew they were coming. I'd wired the door with homemade bombs built from my janitor supplies and camping fuel. The blast bought us mere seconds, not minutes. "Don't talk," I whispered to Evelyn and Lily, knowing those corporate mercs used acoustic trackers to hunt us. My little girl pressed into Evelyn, who shielded her with an absolutely fierce, desperate grip. Right then, she wasn't some wealthy executive or corporate heiress. She was just a brave person shielding the kid who'd drawn her into our family picture. Then the second wave crashed through the glass. I fired back in tight, controlled bursts. My old military instincts took over while my entire world blew apart. One mercenary breached my line just as my gun ran empty. We slammed into plaster. His heavy gear and raw youth easily overpowered my age. The corporate hitman aimed his rifle to finish me off. Evelyn smashed his head with a heavy iron skillet from the stove. The blow dropped him cold. She stood over the unconscious thug, gasping for air. Crimson stains ruined her bright white sweater. I swear to you, seeing Evelyn choose violence to save us was incredibly beautiful. We can't win here, I gasped, but I know exactly where we can. My target warehouse sat on the dirty industrial edge of town. I'd secretly wired the place with cameras back when I prepped our backup shelters. Every single corner fed video straight to a hidden server backing up to the cloud. You see, if we died tonight, the whole world would know why. Proof that even Damien could never erase. We got there right before the kill squad. I'd already hidden Lily's safe with Elias. Now it was just me and Evelyn digging in for our final stand. She stubbornly refused to leave my side and let me face this corruption alone. We argued about it, hard. Then she just grabbed a rifle and told me, together or not at all. The empty warehouse echoed as we quietly took our tactical positions. I picked this battlefield carefully. Multiple floors and solid cover everywhere. I knew the emergency exits. Those corporate thugs were flying blind. But most importantly, the security cameras ready to record everything. Damien arrived with the next wave. Too arrogant to miss the climax, he strolled into the grime wearing a silver suit. His diamond watch caught the harsh lights, looking absurd against the rust and dirty metal. His pale face showed it. Sick satisfaction while his hitmen closed in on our barricade. The USB, he shouted, his voice echoing. Hand it over and I'll make it quick. The little girl won't have to suffer. I stepped out from behind cover, showing my empty hands. You mean the USB proving you murdered Margaret Sterling? How you poisoned William, stole $40 million using fake shell companies. Damien's arrogant composure finally cracked. Nobody believes a janitor and a ruined executive. They will believe the video footage, Evelyn snapped. I stepped out right beside her. Every single word is being recorded, transmitted, backed up safely out of your hacker's reach. Damien just laughed. It sounded like shattering glass. You really think I care about recordings? I own judges, I own prosecutors. Entire corrupt media networks. The truth is whatever I say it is, not anymore. I held up my own phone, broadcasting a live stream. 12,000 viewers. You'd be amazed what goes viral today. That was when Damien finally snapped. He yanked a flashy chrome gun, a coward's weapon used to buying his kills. Then you'll die, knowing you accomplished absolutely nothing. Pure chaos erupted as his corporate mercenaries opened fire. Evelyn and I dived for cover while concrete flew like shrapnel. I gave Evelyn a quick crash course in tactics, but she was still an ordinary, vulnerable citizen. I tried shielding her, drawing fire, but there were simply too many shooters around us. A mercenary flanked us, my gun just clicked empty. The man smirked, raising his heavy rifle. Evelyn grabbed a fire extinguisher, blasted his face with foam and swung it hard. The shooter dropped hard, and she snatched up his weapon. Her hand stayed steady, first time ever holding an assault rifle. We fought back to back. I called positions while she covered me. She was magnificent, terrified but completely determined. A fierce warrior in a blood-stained sweater. We moved through that warehouse seamlessly, covering each other in silence, fueled by pure, absolute trust. Damien watched his corrupt mercenaries drop, his pale face draining of all color. Our live stream viewer count just crossed 50,000 people. Comments kept flooding in fast. People finally recognized him, screaming for real justice. His phone blew up. Corrupt board members, lawyers, and cops were all abandoning ship. You've destroyed everything, he snarled, marching right toward our position. 20 years of work. No, you destroyed yourself. Evelyn shot back, standing tall despite a bloody grazed shoulder. The second you killed my mother, you signed your own warrant. Damien aimed his gun at her. I lunged to intercept, but I was too far. A loud shot rang out. Damien dropped, clutching his wounded shoulder. Elias Flynn stood in the doorway, his FBI tactical team sweeping in behind. Arthur Miller, you magnificent bastard, Elias yelled to me. You always knew how to throw a party. The takedown was completely textbook. Damien Cross kept screaming about his deep connections and corporate influence. They dragged him away in handcuffs while news choppers circled above. You and I both know it went beyond viral, pure international news. Sterling Industries fell, the conspiracy exposed, just an ordinary maintenance man and a CEO who risked absolutely everything. William Sterling was arrested at his massive estate. His mind was too far gone to even understand the charges. The poison had done irreversible damage. He'd spend his remaining years locked in a medical facility. His corporate empire dismantled, his legacy just another cautionary tale of absolute power and deep corruption. Evelyn lost everything. The corporate board ousted her within hours. Her bank accounts froze pending the investigation. The penthouse, the luxury cars. Her entire designer wardrobe gone. I watched her outside Sterling Tower with one suitcase, staring as workers scrapped her name off the directory. That's where I found her at sunset. "You okay?" I asked. She laughed, sharp and bitter. "I'm nobody now. No power, no money, just a name tied to a massive scandal." "You're wrong." I took her hand. "You're the woman who fought beside me, protected my Lily, and chose the hard truth. That means everything." We walked away together, her heels clicking one last time on the pavement she used to own. 6 months passed. Spring hit Vermont with blooming wildflowers and thick mud. I went back to maintenance work, taking a job at the local elementary school my daughter attended. The paycheck was smaller, but I got to eat lunch with Lily. Help with science projects, being a real dad, things the corporation never allowed. I bought us a small house using my veterans benefits. Nothing fancy, just solid. It had a big enough yard for Lily's dream garden. We spent weekends building raised beds together, figuring out where to put tomatoes. Debating if planting flowers or fresh vegetables mattered more. My life found a rhythm again, much quieter but somehow fuller. Evelyn practically vanished after the criminal trials. She testified against Damien, staying perfectly calm even when his corporate lawyers tried destroying her character. Damien got life without parole for murder, corporate conspiracy, and racketeering. The corrupt board members caught much lighter sentences. Sterling Industries got broken up and sold off, its pieces scattered among competitors. I heard rumors Evelyn moved to Boston, took a non-profit job, and chopped off her signature platinum hair. I didn't try searching for her, though. She needed space to find herself without that heavy armor of wealth and power. But Lily asked about her constantly. She kept every family drawing, and Evelyn was front and center in all the new ones. Then a knock came on a Saturday afternoon in April. I opened my front door and found Evelyn on the porch, wearing jeans and a simple blouse. Her hair was its natural honey brown now, shorter, softer. She looked younger, way less sharp, more human. "Hi," she said softly. Before I could even answer, Lily bolted past my legs, tackling Evelyn's waist in a hug. "You came back. I knew you would. Dad said you needed time, but I knew you'd come back." Evelyn dropped down, hugging her tight, her eyes shining. "I missed you, sweetheart, every single day." "We're having a picnic," Lily announced. "Dad made sandwiches. And I baked some cookies. They're a little burnt, though. But you have to try them anyway." We walked to the park, the three of us. Lily kept chattering about school, her garden, and that stray neighborhood cat. Normal, everyday things, the exact texture of a life completely without danger or dark secrets. Evelyn had brought along a butterfly kite, which made my little girl absolutely squeal. While my daughter ran ahead, trying to catch the wind, Evelyn and I sat on the blanket. We didn't say a word at first, just watched her joy. The kite danced against that bright blue sky. "I work at a shelter now," Evelyn finally told me. "Helping women escape dangerous situations. Using everything I learned about corrupt systems and power, but for something good." "That's perfect," I said. "I'm different now. Poorer but lighter, somehow. Does that make any sense?" "Perfect sense." Then Lily yelled for help, her string had tangled. Evelyn stood up, graceful even wearing flat shoes. She untangled the mess with a gentle patience I never expected from the terrified whistleblower I rescued in that dark parking garage. They worked on it. Evelyn's hands rested gently on my daughter's, teaching her about wind and lift. The science of flight, broken down so a 7-year-old could understand. The kite soared higher, burning bright against the spring sky. Lily shrieked with joy, sprinting across the grass, her pure laughter riding the breeze. Evelyn returned to our blanket, sitting closer to me this time, our shoulders touching. "She is extraordinary," Evelyn whispered. "You raised someone extraordinary. She likes you. I love her." The truth came out naturally. I love both of you. I studied her face. She wasn't the heiress or the CEO of a corrupt empire anymore. She was just Evelyn. I didn't speak, didn't need to. I took her hand, interlacing our fingers, feeling the rough calluses she had earned lately. We sat exactly like that, hands locked, watching Lily master the kite. No dramatic proposals, just an ordinary guy and a whistleblower who survived the absolute worst, finding real peace in the quiet aftermath. The kite climbed even higher, a bright splash of color and hope against the endless sky, while right below my little girl laughed with pure happiness. Evelyn leaned her head against my shoulder. I pressed a kiss to her hair. Lily waved at us from across the grassy field. We waved back, our joined hands rising. A family bound not by blood but by choice, our shared danger finally transformed into shared peace. The kite soared on, riding invisible air currents we simply trusted to be there, carrying our quiet joy higher and higher into the warm promise of spring. Listen, you and I know the greatest love stories aren't about perfect timing. They are about two ordinary people choosing each other when the whole world burns, finding real beauty in the wreckage, building something entirely new from the bitter ashes. Evelyn and I discovered this hard truth in the most unlikely way imaginable, through danger and sacrifice, and my daughter's brave little drawing, which imagined us as a family before we ever could ourselves. You see, truth has a way of destroying and creating simultaneously. It demolished Sterling Industries, sending those corrupt executives to federal prison. I ended up rewriting the story of America's biggest corporate dynasty. It also freed Evelyn from a golden cage she never noticed and gave me the partner I never thought I'd find. And it gave my daughter Lily the family she always drew with crayons and hope. Justice didn't come through violence, but through sheer transparency. The simple act of dragging their secrets into daylight. And real love didn't spark inside those boardrooms or penthouses. It grew inside a snowed-in cabin and a warehouse under fire. And finally, on a spring afternoon, flying a butterfly kite against the sky. If you and I believe justice and love always win out, share our story. Sometimes the very bravest words are the ones we never speak.